Santiago Gimenez off to a great start to his club season after scoring twice in the Dutch Super Cup, which his team won there on penalties, as we take a look at the difference between his productivity for club and country. Herc, we got about a month left in the transfer window right now. Do you think it's the moment, after much discussion, for Santiago Gimenez to make that move?
I do. But listening to his post-game interview, I don't know if he thinks that's going to happen. He's already talking about statistical objectives that he's going to try to beat in the Eredivisie, I assume. And it makes me wonder why he needs to spend a third year in the Netherlands. This is a player that's ready for a jump. What that jump is, that's a different question, but ready to make that jump. I don't see what value you get out of a third year in a league that you've dominated already 2 years in a row. And quite frankly, I have to ask myself why. I think the Mexican national team has hurt Santiago Gimenez's stock. I think the Mexican national team has hurt his confidence. I think other teams have now seen his ability in the Eredivisie and what he's not done with the Mexican national team and said, hold up a second, handbrake on that. And that worries me because you spoke to Santi, and if you spoke to their sporting CEO, the Dutch guy's name, now I'm losing his name.
De Kloese.
Dennis De Kloese, thank you so much. If you spoke to both of them, they were certain that there was going to be a big summer transfer in his future, and the future's now. This was the window. So now I look at his peers in the region, and I'll take a Jonathan David. Santi Gimenez is 23 years old. Jonathan David is 24. Jonathan David already has 2 years at Genk, where he scored a bunch of goals in Belgium, goes to a higher division in France, and in the 4 years at Lille becomes our all-time leading goal scorer, and that's coupled with what he's been able to do, approaching the all-time leading goal scorer for the Canadian national team at 24 years of age. And both were rumored and reported the same teams. I'm thinking if one of the two is going to make a bigger jump, it's going to be Jonathan David. And I really think it's this national team. I really think is when you put it together, there are those doubting why he can't make that happen at the international level.
What you're saying effectively is that you think his stock is down right now, right?
Yes.
Is that fair? I mean, to me, that's the reason why now is not the time to make the move, if anything. I think he's come way off the boil. I think a lot of it is what happened this summer with Mexico. But let's not forget, Herc, we did a lot of segments in the spring about Santiago Gimenez cooling off in league play too, right? He wasn't getting it done at the club level in the second half of last season like he was in the first half. So to me, a lot of the should he go now comes down to how's he playing, and then where would he be going? Where would he be landing? And some of the clubs, Herc, that we were seeing him linked to maybe 6 to 9 months ago have pretty much found their answers to the question that Santiago Gimenez may have solved for them. Spurs. They've been linked to Dominic Solanke. He scored almost 20 goals last year for Bournemouth. That's a guy who, to me, is very clearly ahead of Santiago Gimenez. Atletico, today, linked with Julian Alvarez. That was another club that Santi was linked to. AC Milan have gone out and got Alvaro Morata, right? So these are the clubs that we thought he might be linked to. And now, some of the more recent reports are clubs like Russia or mid-table teams. I don't want to see him make that move. I would much rather see him go back to the Eredivisie, try to dominate yet again, try to hit those numbers yet again, maybe have some success now in the Mexican national team, now that it should be well and truly set up for him to succeed, and then maybe get that big move to a club. Obviously, these clubs have now filled those needs, but like a Spurs, like a Milan, like an Atletico Madrid. Because right now, Herc, I can't see any of those teams, to your point when you make the comparison to Jonathan David, going after a guy like Santiago Gimenez. So how can we sit here and say, hey, you got to go, when there's not really a viable place for him to go?
Well, there's Forest right now. He's linked to Forest, and I'm not saying that's the place for him. Yes, I knew you were going to say that. All I'm saying is Santi needs to prove himself at a different level. It's the Eredivisie tax, and I'm sorry. Those are the two best teams in the Eredivisie because that's what this cup is formatted for, to show you these are the two best teams in that tournament in the season. Do you see the defending in those video highlights, or the lack of defending, I should say? I think there is a stigma with the Eredivisie. when you have that stigma in the Eredivisie and you're scoring goals, and then at the international level, you get opportunities and you don't score goals, I think it's more on that. I don't think another year in the Eredivisie is going to help this guy, one, get a better value elsewhere, or two, develop.
Santiago Gimenez there, linked with many moves. Let's see what happens in the coming weeks as his future yet to be decided.